Today we're learning to rearrange the equation of a straight line to allow us to find the gradient and the y-intercept when the equation's given in different forms, okay? So the different form that we're generally going to be looking at will be this one here. This is called the general equation of a straight line when we've got ax plus by plus c equals 0, where a is a number, b is a number and c is a number. Okay, it's just laid out very differently from y equals mx plus c. What we're going to have to do is convert this form here into y equals mx plus c to allow us to pull the gradient, which is the m value, and to pull the y-intercept, which will be the value that will appear at c. So this is what we're going to be doing today, and we're going to be using a number of examples. I've got 10 examples I'm going to do. Again, you can freeze the video when you're comfortable with it. Try the questions and see how well you get on with them. Okay, so first thing that we're going to do, and this is similar to an exam question, you know, to find the gradient and the y-intercept from this type of form here. So let's go for A. Let's go ahead and we'll do that one. And we'll try and keep the video reasonably short today. Okay then, so first one here, what I've got is I've got 2y minus 8x minus 10 equals 0. And I'm going to get that into the form of y equals mx plus c. So first thing I want is to get the minus 8x to the right hand side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 8x onto this side. Okay, and what that will do, it will eliminate that there. If I do that, I'm going to add 8x onto the right hand side. Okay, if I've got take away 10 on that side there, I'm going to add 10 on. And what that will do is that will eliminate that there as well, and I'll add 10 on to the right hand side. So what we'll do is we'll write out what that will look like now. So I've got 2y is equal to, and on the right hand side I've got 8x plus 10. Okay, so it's starting to look like y equals mx plus c, but it's not just y on its own, I've got 2y there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to divide each side by 2. I'll divide this whole side here by 2, and what I can do there is I eliminate the 2's because 2 divided by 2 is just 1. Okay, so on the left hand side that leaves me with y is equal to, and what I would say is this equation part that's here, this bit here is going to be important to us as we go forward and do some simultaneous equations. So I'd like to see that in your working there, like 8x plus 10 all over 2, like that. What we're doing, because all of this is over 2, I'm going to have to divide the 8x by 2 and then the 10 by 2. And what that will give me is 4x on this side here, and that will give me plus 5. So what I've got there is y equals 4x plus 5. And remember, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at that and aligning it up against y equals mx plus c. Okay, y equals mx plus c, where I can see there that the m value is going to be 4 and my c value is going to be 5. Okay, so what I'd write down is that my gradient m is equal to 4. Okay, and my c, my y-intercept, or my c value is equal to 5. So my y-intercept is going to be equal to, and I'm going to write down the coordinates each time. So remember, it's 0 along in the x direction and 5 up in the y direction. So that's going to be sitting on the y-axis at 0, 5. Okay, so that's the question complete. I've got my gradient and I've got my y-intercept. So what we'll be doing is just writing down m is equal to, c is equal to, and then I'll be writing down the coordinates. So that's what I'm looking for here. Right, so each of the questions are slightly different, but the same way that I'm going to go about it is going to be making sure that I can get the equation into y equals mx plus c form. Right, let's go quickly on to this one here. So here I don't want the 3x on this side and the minus 3x, so I'm going to add 3x to there and I'll get 3x over this side. Okay, I'm going to be adding that one, put a plus. That will be eliminated. I don't want the 8 there, the negative 8, so what I'll do is I'll add 8 on, so I'll get that away and I'll add 8 on to this side. So adding on 3x, adding on 3x, adding on 8, adding on 8. Okay, so what I've got left on the left hand side is 4y is equal to, and now I've got 3x plus 8 on the right hand side. Right, so I'm going to now divide both sides by 4, which eliminates the 4's on that side, and that's the important one that I'll be looking for in your working. I'm then going to divide 4 into 3x, which will give me 3 over 4x. And then I'm going to divide the 8 by the 4, and that's going to give me an answer of 2 that's going to be sitting there. Okay, so then I'm going to go for my gradient. So the gradient is going to be equal to 3 upon 4, and my c value is going to be equal to 2. And that will be the y-intercept is going to be 0, 2. So remember, that's just 0 and whatever the c value is that's going to be there. Okay, so that's that one done. Right, another 2. Right, so I only want y on the left-hand side, everything else on the right. So I'm going to subtract 6x from here, so that'll give me a minus 6x over there. They're eliminated. I don't want minus 5 here, so I'm going to add 5 on. 5, take away 5, or minus 5 plus 5 goes to 0. They're eliminated, so I'm going to add 5 on this side here. So I've got 2y is equal to minus 6x plus 5. What I'll then do is divide both sides by the 2. Okay, these are eliminated, leaving with y is equal to, and 2 into negative 6, so that's going to give me a negative 3x. And I've got a 5 there, so it's a plus 5 upon 2. And I'm going to leave it as 5 upon 2. That's what I'm going to leave it as a top-heavy fraction, and that's going to be fine. So from this here, I can see my gradient is equal to minus 3. My c value is 5 upon 2, and that would give me the coordinates 0, 5 upon 2 for that one there. Right, so on to D. Let's see what we've got here. So I've got 5y there, I've got a minus 2x, don't want that there, so I'll add 2x on, and that'll eliminate that. I'll do the same to the right-hand side of the equal sign. I've got a plus 1 there, so I don't want a plus 1 at that side, so I'm going to subtract that. They cancel out, and I'll subtract 1 from that side. Okay, so that leaves me with 5y is equal to 2x minus 1. Okay, from there, I'm going to then divide both sides by 5 to get y on its own. So if I divide that by 5, I'll divide that by 5. Remember, the reason why we're doing that is to eliminate the 5's and leave it with a y equals on its own. Okay, so again, that form there is going to be important as we move forward. But for this, we're going to divide both of these parts by 5. So that will give me 2 upon 5x, 2/5 x, and I've got minus 1 upon 5. So what I've got is I've got two fractions there, but my gradient is just the number that's sitting in front of x when I've got 1y on that side. So gradient is 2 upon 5, and my c value is a negative 1 upon 5, okay, negative 1/5. So the coordinates there would be 0, negative 1/5 for the y-intercept. Okay, so that's 4 questions down already, and what these ones have are all the y's, the x's and the numbers on the left hand side. Now the form could be slightly different from that, and what you might get is you might get something like this here. So what we might get is part of the equation on the left hand side and the rest of it on the right, and it can be a mixture of whichever way this comes about for the question. So just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to try and leave y on the left hand side. So let's go and do that. I don't want the 8x there, so I'm going to take 8x away. That will eliminate that, make that 0. So I must take away 8x from the right hand side. Okay. So this part here, what I've got is I've got 4y is equal to, and I'm going to write the minus 8x first of all, okay? Because I want to have y equals mx, whatever part's associated with x first, so that's going to be minus 8x, and that 20 there is a positive 20 or a plus 20 that's going to be there. So that's how I'm going to lay that out. I'm then going to divide by the 4, both sides, divide both by 4, okay? That'll eliminate this 4 here, and what that leaves me with is y is equal to, now be careful with negative numbers as you're working through this, so I've got negative 8 divided by 4, so that gives me a negative 2, okay, or a minus 2x. And the 20 divided by 4, well, that's going to give me 5, it's a positive number, okay, plus 5. So here we go, my gradient, it's a negative gradient, so it's a minus 2, and my c value is going to be a positive 5, so that would give me the intercept is 0, 5. Right, on to F, okay? And so just be careful when you see an x on its own like that. Remember, there's a 1 in front, so just imagine there's a 1 sitting in there, okay, when you work through this type of question here. And in fact, in front of that one there, it's a -1 that we've got. So just remember that as we work through. So I'm going to put it in for you, just so that you can see it. So it's a -1 that's sitting there. Right, so I don't want -1x on that side. I only want the y's on the left-hand side, so I'm going to add on a 1x to that side there. And what I'll do to the right-hand side, I'll add on a 1x to that side. Okay, so that eliminates this part here, leaving with 2y is equal to, and remember I'm going to write the part that's associated with x first. So what I could write in there is just an x, or if I want I can write a 1x in, and I've got a +4 that's sitting there, so that'll be a +4. Now I don't want 2y, I just want y on its own. So what we're going to do is divide that by 2 and divide that side by 2. So I've got 1 there divided by 2, so that gives me a half x, and I've got 4 divided by 2, and that's going to give me 2. So that gives me y equals a half x plus 2. So straight away I can see my gradient now is sitting there. That's going to be a half. And I've got a c value where it's going to cut through the axis is going to be at the y coordinate of 2. So that's going to give me 0 along in the x direction and 2 up in the y direction. So that's where I'm going, my line, this line here with that equation is going to cut through the y-axis. Okay, remember to freeze the video, try these questions on your own and see how you get on with them. Here we're going with 6x plus 3y equals 2. I've got to find the gradient and I've got to find the y-intercept. So want y equals mx+c, that's what I'm heading towards. So what I need to do is I need to get rid of the 6x from the left-hand side, okay? That's going to eliminate there. I need to take 6x away from the right-hand side as well, balancing the equation up. So what I've got left is 3y is equal to, I'm going to write the x part that's associated here with the -6, so that'll be -6x, and there I've got a 2, and remember that's a positive 2 that's sitting there, so plus 2. I'm then going to divide both sides by 3 to get y on its own, so that would leave me with y is equal to. So 3 divided into the -6 is going to give me a -2, so it's a -2x. And 3 divided into 2, well, that's just going to give me a fraction, and I'm just going to write it as that because I can't simplify that down any further. So I can see what I've got here. I've got my m value sitting there, so m is equal to -2, and my c value just sitting straight there, okay, it's a positive, so it's going to be 2 over 3. So what that tells me is my y-intercept, 0 in the x direction, 2/3 up the y-axis, so 0 and 2/3. Okay. Here we go here with the last one I think of this type so far. What we're going to do is we're going to get rid of that 4x. I don't want that at that side. So what I'll do is I'll eliminate that by taking 4x away. So 4x, take away 4x, makes 0. So that's eliminated. Whatever I do to the left-hand side of the equals, I must also do to the right. Right, so from there, what I'm left with is 5y is equal to, and remember I'm writing the x part first, okay? And then I'll write this part next. So that's a plus of 20 that's sitting there. Okay. So the reason why I'm writing the x part first is so I've got y equals mx+c in that kind of form. And what I can do to get that is divide each side by 5. So if I divide that by 5, divide that by 5. Okay, so these will be eliminated, leaving with a y equals, so -4 or -4 divided by 5. So that's going to give me just -4 over 5. I don't need to change that into a decimal in any way. And that's where the x part will go. So it's -4 upon 5x, and 20 divided by 5 is going to give me 4. So I've got it in the form of y equals, there's my mx+c. So all I'm going to write down is my gradient is equal to, it's a negative gradient, -4 over 5, and my c value is going to be a positive 4 that's sitting there. So my y-intercept, 0, 4. Try to make a point of writing down the c value and writing down the coordinates as well, because if you're asked for the coordinates and you just write a c value, you're not going to get the marks for that, okay? Right, so 2 more to go, and I've got a couple of exam questions that we'll go through, and you can see them as well. Right, so these two here, so just slightly different again. Okay, and what we're going to do with these is get them into the form of y equals mx plus c. So that's the thing that we're just always trying to head for, y equals mx plus c. Right, so there's different ways to do this, but I'll just do it just to keep things the y on the left hand side. So what I'll do is I've got a 4 sitting there, so I'm going to take 4 away because that will eliminate that part there. If I take 4 away from the left, I must also take it away from the right. So what I've got is I've got minus 3y is equal to x part first, which is 2x minus 4. Okay, so I've got a minus 3 here now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide everything by minus 3. Okay, that'll eliminate that there. So that leaves me with y on the left hand side, and I'm going to divide this side by minus 3. So just be a wee bit careful on this one here. So what we've got here is I've got 2x divided by minus 3. So if I just look at the numbers, the 2 divided by minus 3, well, that'll give me 2 all over minus 3. And I can put the minus there or up at the top here. So there we go, 2 over minus 3. And that's going to be x, and I've got 4, and it's a negative 4 that's sitting there, see it? Divided by negative 3, so for this one here, the two negatives, remember when we're dividing or multiplying and there's two negatives, it's going to make a positive, so that's going to be a positive 4 over 3 as a top-heavy fraction, and I'm going to leave it like that, and that's me completed that part. So I've got this equation into y equals mx plus c, and my m value sitting there is, although I've got the minus sign attached to the 3 that's there, the gradient really is minus 2 over 3. Okay? And the c value we've got as 4 over 3. Okay? 4 over 3. And it's a positive. And really just be careful with these negatives that sometimes appear in here. So my y-intercept, 0 along in the x direction. Okay? So it's going to stay on the y-axis and up the y-axis to 4 upon 3. And that's my final answer there. Right, so again, last one, freeze the video, try this one here, okay? And freeze the video and try the exam questions when I put them up, if you can do them. Right then, so I don't want 2x on this side here, so I'm going to subtract 2x. That will eliminate that. I'm going to subtract 2x from the right-hand side as well, leaving me minus 7x, minus 7y is equal to, I'm going to write the x part first, so that's going to be minus 2x, and that's a plus 14 that's sitting up there. So there I've got an equation of the straight line there in a different form. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 7. By negative 7. That eliminates that part, leaving me with y is equal to, right. So, and remember, this is a form that I really would like to see because I am going to use that when we go into simultaneous equations work, which is going to be one of our next topics that we're going on to. So again, I've got minus 2x divided by minus 7. So I've got two negatives there, okay? Two negatives are going to make a positive, so that's going to give me 2 over 7, okay? For the numbers that are going to appear there, x, okay? 2 over 7x, and then I've got a positive 14 divided by a negative 7, okay? So I've only got one negative, or an odd number of negatives that are there, so that's going to give me a negative answer. So it's going to be a negative 2, because 14 divided by 7 is 2. One negative, it's going to be a negative answer. So gradient, I'm just going to pick straight from there, which is 2 over 7. And my c value, which is straight from there, but it's a negative 2, okay? Negative 2. So my y-intercept, 0 and negative 2. And that's how it's done. So that's how I've done the 10 questions reasonably quick, okay? So let's see a couple of exam questions that are very similar to what we've been doing here, okay? So here's the first one, okay? So hopefully you can read that. It's a bit on the small side, but I'll just read it out. So for part A, it says a straight line has equation 4x plus 3y equals 12. Find the gradient of this line. So let's go and find the gradient of it. We're going to change it into y equals mx plus c. Okay, so I'm going to start off with 4x plus 3y equals 12. Okay, so what we'll do from there is we'll take away the 4x, which will eliminate that part. Take away the 4x from that side and rewrite it. So it's 3y is equal to negative 4x, because I'm writing the x part first, and that's plus 12. So it's very similar to what we've been doing up above. I'm going to divide both sides by the 3, both sides by 3, leaving me with y equals, and what we've got here is I've got negative 4 divided by 3 So that's negative 4 upon 3. Okay, leave it as a top-heavy fraction. And what I've got here is I've got 12 divided by 3, and that's going to leave me with a positive 4 that's going to appear there. Okay, so straight away I can see what my gradient is. So because I've been asked for the gradient in the question, I'm just going to go for gradient m is equal to minus 4 upon 3. And that'll be part A complete that's there. Okay, so for part B, I don't think we've done very much of this, but for part B, what we're going to do is we're going to try and find out where the coordinates, where the point crosses the x-axis. So the axis that we're talking about, remember, is the axis that's horizontal. Okay, so it's this axis here that we're after, where it cuts through there. So I know that all the points on this axis have a y value of 0. Every point along there, the y value is equal to 0, no matter where I go. And if I want to find out what the x value is, all I need to do is substitute a 0 for y into that equation that I got up there, that I started with. So I'm going to substitute y equals 0 into that equation up there, which was 4x plus 3y equals 12, okay? So if we sub a 0 into that, all we do is put a 0 in there, so it's going to be 4x plus 3 times 0 equals 12. Well, we know that 3 times 0 is 0, so that leaves me with 4x equals 12, and it's now just unravelling. All we're going to do is divide each side by 4. The 4's eliminate, leaving with x is equal to 3. Okay, I'll look back up at the question and see what I was asked for. It says find the coordinates. So x equals 3 is not the answer. So the coordinates are, the chords x, and I'm going to put my y coordinate in like that there, okay? So x coordinate's 3, and the y coordinate, I said at the start, up there, was 0. So 3, 0 is the answer. Okay, so that's an exam question done. So what we've got is similar to what we were working on, a wee bit different, just trying to find where something crosses over the x-axis, and don't get confused that it's the y-axis. Okay, so final question that we've got here. So a straight line is represented by the equation 2y plus x equals 6. So I'll just write that out a bit clearer for you. So 2y plus x equals 6. So that's the equation that we've got. Find the gradient of the line. So similar to what we did before. So let's just rearrange things, okay? So I'm going to take x away from that side, which will eliminate that. Take x away from the right-hand side, and what that should leave me with is 2y is equal to, I'm going to write the x part first, okay? And I've got a plus 6 that's sitting there. So I know that some people get confused with that there, okay? Just always remember that if you just see an x, it's a 1x, or if you see a minus x, it's a minus 1x that's sitting there, okay? So I'm going to write it in for you, okay, a 1. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2, it eliminates the 2's, that leaves me with y is equal to, and because I know that's a 1 that's sitting there, but in this case a negative 1, it's negative half x. And the 6 divided by the 2 is going to give me an answer of 3 that's there. So I was asked for the gradient, so the gradient m is equal to, and I'm just grabbing it straight from there, and it's minus a half, okay? That's part A done, so that'll be part A. Okay, for part B is a bit more straightforward than the last question that we did, because we're going to find the line where the line crosses over the y-axis, okay? So on the y-axis is the c value that we're after, so the c value that we can pick will be just straight from this equation that we've got here. This one straight here. Because remember, what we're looking for is y equals mx plus c, and what we've got in that equation is minus a half x, and we've got plus a 3, so I can see there that my c value equals 3, so c equals 3. Okay, it's just asking for me for the c value, so that's what I would do for this question here. So what we've covered is rearranging the equation of a straight line. We've rearranged it from the general equation of a straight line, which is this one here. We've also looked at some variants on that as well. And what we've been able to do is write it in form of y equals mx plus c, pick out the gradient, pick out the y-intercept, write the coordinates for the y-intercept, and from there that's what we're asked in some of our exam questions. So hopefully this has helped you out with a further part of the equation of a straight line topic, and wish you all the best with your studies.